All right, gang. Thank you very much for your patience while we work that out. That just even, as somebody said, even the experts get boggled by technical problems. Um, Thanks everybody for showing up and being part of the webinar. This is our August webinar, and we're covering something very cool and what everybody wants to know about, which is more about social media marketing and how to do it, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, mistakes people make, how to make the most of it. And it's a topic that we all want to know about, and it's constantly changing. So we have our very own Molly McCormick here is our social media maven who helps foster web marketing doing social media, who helps me, my right-hand girl here, to help us do marketing and help us do social media. So she's put on a great presentation. And I've also got my buddy Zach Stone, who's also, he's like our color commentary guy, so we'll add a little flavor to it. But he also helps a lot of our clients, some of you that are probably on the phone here, on helping them do social media. And, you know, social media for lawyers and doctors is a little bit different than what your kids are doing or what, on social media. So, Molly, we got a pretty interesting topic here, so we've already been delayed. Let's go ahead and get through it. And everybody, I see your questions coming in. Please put them in there, and I will answer them, or we will answer them as soon as possible. We want to get started on this important subject, like right now. Go ahead, Molly.
Yeah, hopefully we can get some of these questions answered just going through the slideshow, but let's get to it. So today we're going to be covering the social mindset, which is really the way that you need to be thinking about social media. This is a totally different mindset than when you're writing content for your website or when you're trying to optimize the things that are on your website. This is a totally different style of marketing, so we're going to basically teach you what you need to be thinking when you're doing social media. We're also going to talk about the right message for the right platform, because Twitter and Facebook do not have the same audience, so you don't want to just keep sharing the same information with the exact same post on every platform. So we'll teach you a little bit we'll teach you a little bit about how to approach each platform to get the right message to the right audience. Then we're going to talk about targeting your ideal audience, which is really one of the most critical and amazing things about social media, is that you have these targeting options that are unlike any other targeting options on any other marketing platform. You can really get super specific about who you want to talk to and how you talk to them with social media. And we will also dive into Ads 101 to give you kind of the quick and dirty details on social media ads and help you decide, if you want to run ads, which platforms you should be running them on.
Very good, and I think some of these questions that Tyson and Lee have introduced will be answered in this presentation, and if not, we can certainly answer them afterwards. So we're talking about what is the strategy with social media, right?
Yeah, so with your strategy, you need to have goals. You can't just go into your social media marketing without having any goals, and you need to be smart about them, not just smart in the way you think about them, but they need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And they really need to align with your business goals. Don't create social media goals that don't help your business. You need to make sure that you have the right goals for your business and know what you're trying to do. So are you trying to promote your brand? Are you trying to just manage your reputation, which is probably the most basic thing you can do on social media, making sure that all your profiles are claimed and making sure that you are listening to those out there. So if someone does tweet at you or message you or write on your business page wall, that you are responding to those, and that's probably the most basic thing that you can do on social media, is just manage your reputation. Or are you trying to attract leads? And what kind of leads are you trying to attract? Are you trying to promote your book? So you have a free offer and you want to try to get more leads into the door. These aren't necessarily the people that are going to be clients tomorrow, but these are the people you're trying to educate today so that they can be the clients of tomorrow. And what are the best metrics for you to measure these things with? So if you're trying to get book downloads, you need to make sure that you are tracking that. You can set up conversions on your website that track conversions through Facebook and other social media campaigns. They're known as pixels. We can help set you up with those if you're a Foster client. You basically just need to contact customer service and say, hey, I need to set up a tracking pixel. We can give you more information and also point you in the right direction.
And you'll be able to see that in your analytics, right?
You'll be able to see it in Facebook and other places. We can also show you how to set up goals and analytics that would track those as well, but Facebook has its own tracking conversions, so you can see how many people convert via a certain ad or a certain campaign, and what type of conversion that is. Is it a contact form they fill out, or is it a report that they download on your website? And even if it's a chat. So there's different ways to track those things. And then what's the best metric for you? Are you just trying to increase traffic to your content that you're creating today and try to promote it in different ways? Are you trying to get more leads like the book downloads we were talking about? Are you trying to improve your reach, try to get in front of more people in your local area? Are you trying to increase the buzz or the mentions about you on these social media websites? Or are you just trying to make sure you're managing customer happiness? So while going through this, every business is going to be different. Lawyers and doctors are a little bit different than other industries, but one lawyer is going to be a little bit different than another lawyer, and you guys are going to have different business goals depending on your practice areas, your location, the size of your firm, the reputation that you already have. So keep that in mind. It's going to be a little bit different, but we want to make sure that you're focusing on the right things. Look to what's happened already. How many followers do you currently have? What's a reasonable goal to increase the relevant followers? It's not just about getting likes or followers. It's about getting ones that are in your market who could potentially be clients and doing it the right way, not trying to buy those things. It's not going to be a legitimate way to use social media.
Or yell at them and say, hire me if you've been in an accident.
Yeah, that's really off-putting. You're probably going to get a lot more unfollows than you're going to get followers when you try to be too salesy or try to yell at them in that way.
Because social media is about people.
Yeah, it's about people. It's about being social. Just think about yourself at a party. Do you want to hang out with the person who's interacting with other people, providing great stories and information, or do you want to hang out with the person that's in the corner yelling about themselves and won't shut up about this thing or the other that they've done or their kid has done or whatever it is? It's all about being a good social influence in your community.
And communicating back and forth. It's a two-way street. You can't just go out there and megaphone everybody and say, hire me, hire me.
Yeah, you have to be listening.
You have to contribute.
Yeah, you have to be listening as much as you're saying. So that's where the brand reputation comes in, knowing that you have these and having people following your social media platforms to make sure that people are not having a negative experience. I think it's 80% or I read some metric recently. It was like 80% of people who follow a brand on Twitter are more likely to purchase from that brand. So it's definitely important to make sure that you have the presence out there and that you're following it and you have the correct goals in mind and you're not just trying to go for this artificial like count that someone randomly threw out there.
Yeah, it's not about likes. I mean, likes is somewhat of a measurement, but it's not about getting likes. It's about getting engagement. And as you said at the beginning of this, Zach, is that you can't go into social media looking at it like I'm going to get a case or I'm going to get a patient or I'm going to get a client as a result of this particular post. It's really a social, just like you said at the party, you know, just because you go talk to somebody doesn't mean that you're going to take them home the first time that you meet them. It's about getting to know people better in this world, in this digital world of social media. It's about being interesting. And so just to, you know, a few questions here about, you know, how do I post, you know, certain information about DUI or if you're a personal injury attorney, how do you post information? You know, really it's about maybe if you're a DUI lawyer, you want to tell the story of a particular client's case. Van Hardenberg does a great job down in Petersburg and Lexington does a great job on social media about telling the story of a particular client and what happened to them and using images and whatnot to create kind of that, just that story. People love to hear stories. Bob Battle does a good job on social media. He had a case where he got a certain kind of breathalyzer, you know, brought people's attention to the errors with this breathalyzer. You don't need to go out there and be like, hey, I'm the best DUI lawyer, hire me. Ultimately, they'll come to that conclusion, but only if you're out there providing good social proof that you are that person to come talk to. Right, Molly?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. If you walk up to a person and say, hey, I'm the best at what I do, that's probably going to be a little bit
it's
off-putting.
Annoying, right?
Yeah,
right.
Prove it to them just by being an expert at what you do. And on that note, it should be a huge part of your strategy and goals to basically prove that to people. You want to think about who your perfect client or patient is and just basically put yourself out there in such a way that they want to come to you, not that you're forcing yourself onto them. Think about the platform that you're on. This is another thing that we really struggle with. I mean, and it's everybody struggles with it. Your perfect patient, your perfect client might not be on Pinterest. Think about what you want, and think about if that platform is going to help you establish a relationship with those people, because you don't have to be everywhere. You know, pick the ones that you're going to do really well on and that you're going to devote the time to, and stick to those ones. You don't want to just spread yourself too thin and not have a strategy or goals or anything you can accomplish on a ton of different social media sites.
And don't duplicate the same post on several different social media sites.
Yes.
Don't try to cheat this, because it doesn't work that way.
It looks spammy to your audience. It's frustrating when somebody really wants information, but they're just getting kind of spammed with the same thing across multiple platforms. Yeah.
And like Hootsuite, I mean, Hootsuite is a tool that a lot of people use. It's a great tool, but you can abuse that tool, right?
Well, it's all about the automation. So
right.
As long as you're making sense and you're providing good content on these different social media platforms, so Hootsuite's meant to make your life easier. It's not meant to let you more easily spam these social media websites. So
right.
Be relevant, unique, just like when you're writing content.
Yeah, and so Zach's going to talk about tools you can use to create a plan, how to leverage everything for engagement now.
Yeah, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You're doing a lot of stuff already. Promote what you're doing, and that's a great starting point. You'll notice that the most popular shared content on social media is pictures. So pictures are, a picture says 1,000 words. Keep that in mind. Think about that with your other posts. You don't need to write a novel on Facebook. You can provide a short, quick synopsis of what your point is, and keep that in mind. Why pictures are so shared, because they're quick and to the point. You don't want to go and be long-winded on a social media platform. So you win awards. You're part of events. Your people on your team in your office are part of events. They're doing charity. You're creating content on your website. You have opinions about breaking news and trending topics. Use that stuff on social media. Don't try to start this whole new thing just because you want to have a social media plan now. Use what you already have. Pictures are really popular on social media. They're quick and informative, so keep that in mind. Use those, but also think about those other posts that you're writing and try to have that same mentality while using those.
Okay, real quick though, before we move on from this, I'd like to address this question that we get a lot about and I know this is a little bit in the weeds, Molly, but people ask about it. You know, there's their Facebook, and just specific to Facebook, the business page, and then your own personal page. Let's just touch on this because I've got a few questions for people about this. So how do we effectively use our Facebook business page and our Facebook personal page with our friends and our family or whatnot?
Well, that is, first of all, a personal decision. If you want to share your personal page with your audience, with your clientele, with your fans, with your patients, whoever, that's totally up to you. When you use the business page, you are using it through your personal page, but none of that personal information is shared unless you choose to share it on the business page. So it's kind of a fine line, because some people like to be a little bit more themselves on their personal page than they would necessarily want to be in a business setting. But we do, a little bit later in the slides, we're going to touch on brand ambassadors, which are hugely beneficial to your company. If you have people who are basically, they work for your company, and for example, tools as well.
Yeah, so this is the average engagement rate for different types of content shared on Facebook. You'll notice that statuses, whether you pay to promote them or organically, do not perform very well because they're not very engaging, where photos are both organically and paid are almost the most engaged piece of content. A link is going to not do as well through paid promotion as it would organically if someone reacts quickly. Now keep in mind, with social platforms, especially on Facebook, the more quickly the people engage with your post, the more likely it's going to be shown to other people. So when you post something and someone in your office 2 seconds later shares it or likes it, that's going to help promote the piece and get it more reach than if it goes out there and no one does anything with it, interacts with it, engages with it for the first 15 minutes it's been on social media. Facebook's going to realize that's not a very interesting or engaging piece of content that they're sharing. We're not going to show it to any more people. But if the first person that sees it, likes it, comments, shares it, then you're going to see a lot more reach. And then their friends and family. So we have some examples later on of some things that have really taken off. But keep this in mind. There's certain things that are going to do well. Questions do very well.
Both what do you mean by note? What does that mean?
Just a comment on a specific item. So with the offers specifically, those are going to do really well on a paid campaign. So know your audience, pay attention to what they like. Don't say the same thing over and over again or you'll lose them. Facebook wants resourceful content and not sales-driven content. That is why the business pages no longer have organic reach, because so many businesses were trying to spam their followers with salesy content. They don't want that. They want resourceful content. So provide information and content that's going to be useful to the user or your followers, and empower your employees to engage. Also, incorporate humor. I mean, think about your interaction on social media. I would guess that many of you who see a funny post or picture or comment are more likely to engage with that than something that might be really informational and have a great statistic, but I mean, it might be cool and I might engage with it, but I'm much more likely to do it if someone puts a funny twist on it. So use your humor. Don't use humor if you're not actually funny, but definitely use it if you got an knack for that kind of thing. And be personal, like Tom said, and show who you are. Don't be robotic. This is, again, social media, not something that is meant to be phoned in or automated.
Okay, real quick before we move on from Facebook, because we're going to start talking about Twitter in a minute. I got some more questions. You guys are asking some great questions. So, Irene, good point. If people are not your friends, you're not going to get their messages if they send messages to you in your regular inbox. So you want to check your other inbox in Facebook, and you're just going to have to go there and figure it out yourself. This is not a deep. You want to explain that, Molly?
If you in the top right corner of your screen, if you drop down your messages screen, this is from your personal page, I should clarify. When you drop down those messages, it's actually very vaguely visible. There's a kind of faded out link to the other inbox right next to the top where you see your messages. So just drop down that little message bubble and you'll see at the very top the link to the other messages.
And we'll send that out in the follow-up email, just a quick screenshot and explanation of that. But that's a great point, Irene. Thank you very much. And we will put out in the email some examples of great podiatry offices that do social media. We have a whole bunch of them. And what we'll do is in the email that we send out afterwards, we'll give you a bunch of examples of law firms and doctor offices that we believe do a great job for social media for everybody. And then Tyson, he's peppering us. What's going on over there, Tyson, with all these questions? I get engaged. He says, I get engaging in conversation and contest, but how do you get people to the page in the first place to engage? If you're brand new, if you've got nothing out there, what do you do?
Well, you can leverage your personal page. So I have a personal Facebook page. If I had a brand new business, I would share that through my personal page and try to ask people to follow me. I'm going to provide this information or whatever it might be. There are also ways to do, you can do a promoted page ad where you are looking at promoting your page and getting likes from people in your relevant area and for your practice. And then you can also do a lookalike audience where you're uploading contacts to Facebook and saying, hey, I want to target people just like this, and you're promoting your page. Or you can just create a lookalike audience based on your current followers. You're going to say something, Lauren?
Yes, you can actually, on your business page, you will notice if you go to the page itself, not the back end, your own, if you're on your timeline, you'll see in the left side of the page there's actually an option to invite people to like your page. It'll literally give you a list of the people you're friends with who you can just hit invite on. Don't spam them though. Facebook notices and says, hey, it looks like you're kind of handling this the wrong way. And you can also upload all of your contacts into Facebook, and if that email address is associated with their Facebook page, then you can invite them to like your page that way. There's a number of ways to do this. It sounds like maybe we'll need to go into a little bit more in-depth information at some point. We can provide that information.
Yeah, and of course, you know, Tyson, you're a client of ours, so if you have any questions about if you get confused, then you can just set up a time to talk to Molly, our guru here, and she can help you work out your nits. Okay, very good. All right, so now that's Facebook, but we've got some other platforms to cover. Let's talk about Twitter. So Twitter, and it's funny because I'm always asking Molly, I don't know what to tweet about. I mean, I'm pretty good with Facebook, right? I'm a little old school. I'm pretty good with Facebook, but Twitter for me is like, I ramble on, and how do I do this in 140 characters or less? And so what do we do, Molly? How do you help a guy like me?
You are not the only one who struggles with it, and honestly, it is tough. It's one of those things that it really pays to be constantly engaged with Twitter, just to be aware of the conversation that's happening, and that is incredibly difficult for most people to do. I certainly don't have the time to sit with Twitter open on one window and just respond to things I see, but you can certainly establish your authority on Twitter by picking a real focus. So you want your content to be niched to something, and like I mentioned with the brand ambassadors, for example, my personal Twitter feed is mostly niched to social media, but I'll throw in some marketing stuff there as well. And for Zach, it's mostly SEO. We've got one of our web developers, Greg, who tweets lots and lots about development, and then Tom, I'm trying to push to tweet about kind of his experiences as the CEO. So it's a little bit different for every person, but definitely if you lay yourself out there as this specific person for this company, you're going to bolster the idea that this company is really credible and they know what they're talking about. So you want to definitely engage with people, retweet articles that you agree with, and I have seen it so many times that people will just see, oh, somebody hashtagged interesting law article, I'm going to retweet this, and they clearly did not read the article. So read what you're tweeting about, because that's what you're putting out there. Yeah.
Right.
Share things.
Believe in what you're doing.
Absolutely. Infographics do incredibly well on Twitter. It's just because it's such a busy site, I think having that visual way to get information very quickly really works well for Twitter. Images, tweets that have images are, I think it's retweeted 200% more. I mean, it's an outrageous number. So include images with your tweets whenever you can, and videos do really well. You can see down here at the bottom of the screen, Emily Corwin is a great example of a brand ambassador for VB attorneys. She is very much herself on Twitter, but she's sharing their information frequently, and she does it with her own personality. She says, if you can't out-research Erin Brockovich, you've got to check out this job, which is fun, funny, and interesting, and it points people to the right place. I would also encourage you to do what's called a Twitter chat, and it's basically something that somebody will host, and you use a hashtag to keep all of the Twitter chat statuses together. So that works really well for us, and you can see on the bottom right here I've answered some questions from the SEM Rush chat, and that worked really well. And it was a really good way to engage with other people in my field who had really interesting things to say. And you can, of course, keep it funny, keep it fun. This Lawyer Thoughts Twitter has really silly things to say, and you can retweet that stuff just to keep people interested and engaged.
Okay, very good. So that's Twitter in a nutshell, in a tweet. And so Google+, this is an interesting one. So how do we use Google+ most effectively? Because it's very similar to Facebook. So
except no one's there. No. Google+ is definitely a more techie place for people. You see Rand Fishkin and Cyrus Shepard here. Keep these things in mind. Google+ is very indexable for Google. Obviously, it's their platform. They're going to do that. Recently, Google+, they've come out with, they're going to separate these things a little bit. I think photos have been not connected, so there's a little bit of change that's going to be coming here, so keep that in mind. But when you're posting, there's some, Google Plus has got probably some of the coolest features, even though no one uses them that often. You can't, when you're writing a post, you have a headline essentially. That's going to become your title in search engine results. So make it really interesting and engaging so that people are more likely to not just plus one it or share it on Google Plus, but click on it in search results if you have a really good informational piece. This can be a really great place for quick questions or FAQs, because you might not want to write a whole FAQ piece on a specific topic, but if you write a really good Google Plus FAQ and you answer it and then you get some engagement, it's really likely to show up in search results. So that's just another way to improve your reach on Google Plus. And then there's some cool things that you can do. So you can actually niche your friends into different circles or groups. And this is really great because, like, let's say you're a personal injury firm that does a lot of different types of law. Within that personal injury realm, you can kind of circle up different groups. I wouldn't go crazy with this because you don't want it to just be like 2 people who are following you and that fall within that group, but you can send notifications to people when you post things, and you can also even email them, which is, I almost didn't bring it up because I can see this getting overused quite drastically. So just keep in mind, if you have a really awesome, cool offer or contest or promotion, that might be something you want to send an email about. If not, don't email people every time you post something in Google Plus. They're going to quickly unfollow you. So keep that in mind. And engaging questions work well. The conversations can be good on Google Plus, especially if you have people who are actively using it, who are following you. But again, this is a great place to have a presence if you have the wherewithal to actually go out and do it. But it is more of a tech realm. There's a lot less full-time users. You'll see some statistics about Google Plus being the #1 social media website out there. That is only because they're counting Google accounts, and when someone logs into their Google account, there's like other things that are connected that they're considering that people using it, but in reality, from the social aspect, people are not using it as much as Facebook or Twitter, or even Instagram. So keep that in mind. Join communities.
But we still love it.
Oh, I mean, Google Plus, it's connected to a
Google.
lot of different stuff. Oh yeah, they're superb in what they do.
We love them. So let me ask you this, Zach. I mean, haven't we discovered that a lot of attorneys use Google Plus and they're on there?
Well, that's why it's really great for communities. So you can engage with other attorneys, and it can be good for your industry. It might not be the best way to target potential clients, but it might be a great way.
Referrals from other
yeah,
attorneys?
It might be a great way to get referrals, or it might be a great way to get new ideas about what to do or how to run your practice. There are definitely people out there who or engaging on Google Plus from an industry standpoint, so it's more like communicating with your peers there, I've noticed, than actually trying to talk to your clients.
Yeah, I mean, so for those of you that want more or rely on referral business, whether you're a lawyer or a doctor, maybe you have a specialty, maybe you do something that a lot of lawyers don't. You know, if you're a medical malpractice attorney and you get a lot of referrals from other attorneys, this is a good place for you to post content out there and answer questions, just like Rand is. You know, he's answering questions, and these things come up in the search. I like that. I think that's a great strategy. Once again, you know, be real, be good with your content. It's not about SEO, it's not about keywords, it's about answering questions, whether those are directly from a potential client or patient or from a potential referral from an attorney or another doctor. Okay, now here's one. Pinterest. What the heck is Pinterest, Molly, and who uses it?
Pinterest is a visual pinboard, and it's mostly used by women, and I personally love it. Pinterest really thrives on things that are actionable, so if you can give somebody a DIY on how to do anything, they're going to love it. So I've seen tons of examples of exercises you can do, yoga you can do if you have pain, feet pain or back pain. We've seen tons of really interesting and silly content, like we've got this dog here that says, so they left the shoes on the ground completely unattended. This is most assuredly entrapment. It's just kind of a silly and fun and very, very visual way to talk about what you do and what your interests are. And you want to also target your audience interests, because this isn't just a place to go post information about yourself. This is a place to get your perfect client or your perfect patient excited about what you're saying, enough so to keep that information in their back pocket to come to later, because that's exactly what you do with Pinterest. You pin these cool and interesting visuals.
It's a little more creative, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's a
certainly.
more creative social media platform.
And it's a little bit less of a personal platform. There are so many people on Pinterest who are pinning actionable things. So where a staff bio might do really well on Facebook because you've connected with a lot of your direct audience and clientele, on Pinterest you're more looking for people who would be interested in the information you have to share that might not necessarily be your clients. Because of that, this is one of those things to take kind of approach with caution, is the best way to say it. This is a site that's not going to be for everybody, and don't use it just because it's there. Use it because you have the time to invest in it and because you find it useful. And if you don't find it useful, then that's all right. You can move on to the next thing, which in this case is going to be...
Whoops, sorry, I jumped ahead.
Got excited. That's okay.
And if you're looking for a good example of a lawyer who uses Pinterest, Hupy and Abraham's done a great job of promoting their events. Mm-hmm. They have pictures of their individual events and people there, but they also have great infographics and pictures of different motorcycles. They have a lot of motorcycle enthusiast pictures in that board. They have more followers on Pinterest than I have friends on Facebook. So they have a lot of people that follow them and obviously have done a good job. So check them out if you're looking for some examples of what you can do.
And let me just say before we move on, this Biker Bucket List is actually a Hupy's. They have a whole board dedicated to this, and this is a great way to make your personal interests relevant to your community, because they have, I mean, they are the motorcycle accident guys, and so they've taken this niche, and they love to ride motorcycles as well, so they've kind of shared their own personal interests in a way that can relate to their clients.
They're fantastic in the community, and that's, you know, we did our community webinar. Don't forget that, you know, people like people. And so getting involved in your community is one of the best marketing that you can do. And then, of course, sharing it on these different platforms, what you're up to. I love this infographic of the heel pain and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, infographics do really well on Pinterest. It's just pretty much everywhere on social media. It's a very cool way to get information quickly and digest it very quickly.
Okay, so this other one, Instagram. Zach, what is this thing? I know that my kids have moved from Facebook. They're barely on there. They're all on Instagram now. So
yeah, because all you guys are on Facebook.
I know, us oldies are on Facebook now. So what?
Yeah, they're hiding. It's definitely a visual social media platform, a lot like Pinterest. And there's some things that you can do here that are going to do really well. Office culture can be promoted nicely on Instagram. Events offer a lot of opportunities for great pictures, and the picture really matters. I didn't include the pictures on these posts. You can check them out on Instagram if you'd like. Their names are right there. But there is a large following of women, just like Pinterest, and it leans more towards urban users. So if you're in a large city, Instagram might be a good idea to have a presence on and provide cool pictures or showcase your customers with permission, obviously, or host photo contests. So Hupy and Abraham has a photo contest right there, posting your favorite bike. And keep in mind, so Kaufman Law has done a good job recently here of promoting themselves on Instagram. They are telling people to read more on that link there, which they also have in their bio. And here's something that you need to be aware of. If I'm in Instagram, I can't click on that link in a comment, but I can go to your bio in your Instagram and click on a link and go to your website or go to whatever you're promoting. So keep that in mind. You can change that link as time goes on, because the way Instagram works is it's an ever increasing status that you're going through all the different pictures, and if you're posting something every so often and it's relevant to a certain page, you can update your bio, and it's really likely that people are going to only click on there after a more recent photo. So if you want to provide more information, have a contest, anything like that, you can link in the bio. You can't link in your comment. So Hupy does a good job of this here. Kaufman is putting that link there to say read more, but you can't click on it. You have to go to the bio, which they have there as well. So just keep that in mind. It's definitely a little bit of a quirk that Instagram has, but I love Instagram. It's probably my second favorite social media website as Zach Stone.
Zach Stone. Everybody listen to Zach Stone. Okay, and here's something that we're all interested in, doing ads.
Yeah.
Opportunity for ads on social media.
Yeah, so one of the things that you can do, and I think Jim Dotson Law in Florida has done a good job about this, is that if you have an organic piece that's starting to perform well and getting engagement and you think it applies to other people in the area, you can promote that at that post after you've seen it, how well it's done organically. So you can kind of do those kind of things. You want to make sure that you are trying different types of posts and promoting different types of posts, or if you're doing an ad on Facebook, try to split test the different images to see what performs better. If you're promoting your book, try making sure that you are telling them how informational it is and that it's a resource and that you're not trying to sell them something. That's really important. Like I said earlier, you can do lookalike audiences in Facebook, which will target users similar to the ones that you already have. So you know the clients that you have that have been great clients. It's likely that their traits or demographics or engagement on social media websites is similar to other perfect clients. So use a lookalike audience to try to engage with people that might be similar to your perfect clients. This is also a great place if you are trying to target a specific drug. You might have more information on what type of person that is. If someone's taking a specific drug because of a lifestyle or something that's happened in their life, whether they've been pregnant or have diabetes or whatever it might be, any kind of illness, they're likely to follow and have interest in those types of topics, so you can target them pretty specifically. And
with that in mind, I just wanted to add there are very specific rules on Facebook, and you'll see more of them if you do decide to get into this. I'm more than happy to talk to you individually if you have specific questions, but there are specific rules on Facebook about what you can and can't say when targeting somebody. So for instance, I was trying to run an ad on power morcellators, which can cause cancer in women who have had hysterectomies. And even just a vague mention of some of the things that I was saying, which were not at all specific about the person, but vaguely mentioning them, that's a red flag for Facebook, and they think, oh, you're really trying to put personal information out there and target them with that personal information. So just keep that in mind and be cautious when you set those up.
Yeah, and when you're doing contests or promotions, make sure you follow the rules. Facebook, actually, they're not as tight as they used to be, but if you just look for Facebook contest or promotion rules, you'll find that result in Google. Really, that's the first result. But there are specific rules you need to worry about. One thing that you don't want to do is encourage others to upload your cover photo to personal timelines. That's definitely a no-no. And make sure you're not doing a tag to win kind of thing, so like tag us or whatever to win this prize. And make sure you set up conversions like we talked about before so that you know how well these are doing. If your goal is to increase report downloads or free offer downloads, make sure you have a conversion pixel on that offer thank you page for Facebook so that you know that people actually download the book from your Facebook campaign. If you don't know how many people are converting, how do you know if it's performing well? Even if the engagement's good, that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting them to that last point, which is to get that lead. So make sure that you're tracking those conversions, and again, we can help you with that, setting that up. And try different audiences. You might think you know who your perfect client is on demographically on social media websites, but it turns out that you didn't quite have it right, and there's a different audience or interest that could target it better. Another thing is YouTube. YouTube is an awesome, you could consider YouTube a social media website. Actually, one of our top performing pieces of content is an FAQ about whether YouTube is a social media website. And people search for that all the time. We get a lot of traffic to our website because of it. You can do ads on YouTube, and they give you a lot of demographic information and a lot of stuff that you can target. I can even, let's say there's a really popular video that has a lot to do with your practice, and you want to get people who are watching that video to watch a short FAQ video or promotional video, or maybe even a video ad for your book. Like we have clients who promote their books on the radio and TV. It's definitely something that you can do on YouTube as a short ad, and it's really cool because you can see how long people are watching your ad for. You can see how many people click through to your website from that, and you can target specific interests, videos, demographics. So you can get really, really targeted with those YouTube ads, and it's definitely something that I don't see people doing enough. So keep that in mind.
Very good. Yeah, that was missing from here in my mind, is that YouTube is a social media platform. Oh well, these are the big dogs right here. All right, so what are we trying to do? We're always talking about perfect client, perfect client. You know, you don't want to cast too wide of a net. You want to target your perfect audience for the kind of clients, patients, and cases that you want, right, Molly?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's something really to keep in mind. This is I'm basically giving you a rundown of how you can target people on Twitter if you decide to use Twitter ads. But again, it's important to keep in mind, what are your goals? Which profiles have the best audience? Who are you going to hit the most with that ad that you really want to engage with you? So Twitter ads may be for you, or they might not be for you. So I'm not going to take too much time with this, but I just want to give you kind of the quick rundown. You have some really awesome options here, so you can target people who have been looking up specific keywords. You can target them by their actual username or Twitter handle. So if you want to get really niched, you can do that. You can do interests or followers, TV, web visitors, or contact lists. And down here you can just see a little snapshot of, we ran an ad, basically we promoted a tweet really about when we were honored with a Webby Award honoree status, and with just, I think we spent maybe $15 on this, we got, I mean, a huge amount of impressions and really great engagement. So it's just a really good way to reach specific people who might be interested in what you have to offer. But when it comes to Twitter, you do pay on an engagement basis. So you really need to make sure that you're targeting the people who are genuinely interested, and you want to drive those real prospects. You don't just want to go for how many people can I get to click this link, because then you're paying for people to click a link that maybe are not interested in what you have to offer.
And take a look at those stats right there. You'll notice that organically we had a ton of impressions, more so than we did from a promoted standpoint. But engagement-wise, you can see that the engagement really came from those promoted impressions. So those are really engaged people that are definitely looking to get more information. So that definitely is interesting.
Very good. And then Facebook. What do we do Facebook-wise? We have a lot more choices here, a lot more focus. We love to use Facebook to test out headlines and test out offers and whatnot.
Yeah, Facebook is an awesome opportunity. This is really, honestly, where you can get super, super niched and target the people that you really specifically want to see things. I mean, I've given you a quick rundown of the things you can look for when targeting on the left here, but what it really is kind of incredible at is, I mean, you've got not just age, gender, location, but you can upload an entire list of contacts. If you know, we're promoting our Foster Web Marketing Bootcamp right now, which is pretty specifically for attorneys, but it's marketing advice everybody can use. But if I want to target our attorneys who maybe have not been checking their emails and reading those awesome emails, which shame on you, but I can upload that list of attorney contacts into Facebook, and I can show them that ad that way. And so they have another opportunity to see what we're talking about, and it's, you know, a really great way to get specific. This image that you see here is actually a boosted post, and I mean, with the paid reach, we had over 6,000 people who just saw the ad, and we've got 72 photo. I'm having a hard time reading this tiny little
Yeah,
print on
72
my
photo
screen.
clicks.
Yeah.
72 photo clicks, 4 link clicks. So that just really,
$20. That was how many people did we drive there that were really interested in what we had to offer. I mean, it was a really good opportunity. And when it comes to boosting a post, you are limited a little bit in what you can do. You can do age, gender, location, and up to 10 interests. And when you run an actual ad campaign, you've got a much more in-depth opportunity. So do you want to flip to the next slide?
Yeah.
We can just take a look. So you can see, I mean, even just the way that the ads are set up specifically, it's a different image for people to look at. And this is just showing you, I mean, this is barely the tip of the iceberg with the information that you can gather from Facebook ads, but you can see, I know where people are seeing this. I know where people are clicking from. Are they on their phone? Are they looking at it from their computer? I mean, Facebook ads are really a whole nother world when it comes to targeting the right people, and you've got a really robust platform here to do whatever it is you want to do, target whoever it is you want to target.
and the majority of people on Facebook are on their mobile phone. I don't know what the percentage is, but keep that in mind. When you're sharing content on Facebook, make sure it looks great on your mobile device. You should be doing that anyway, but really consider that, and make sure the ad looks good, that you can actually see what the ad looks like on a mobile device. So make sure you check that out, and it doesn't look all wonky when it goes from desktop to mobile.
Okay, so we're going to get into some examples of good posts.
So
bad
yeah, these
posts,
are some
and worse posts, right?
Yeah. So these
Okay.
are some offers. Hupy and Abraham does a bunch of contests like this. This is a really good one. You can see 153 people liked it, 45 people shared it. That's really great engagement. You'll notice that first line right there, the URL, hupy.com, news, Hells Angels sue over trademark infringement. Those Facebook likes, shares, comments, Twitter tweets, Google Pluses, Pinterest pins, and LinkedIn shares, all from that one piece of content. They did not pay a single cent to promote that Hells Angels sued over trademark infringement piece. That is all viral commenting, sharing. It was a good piece of content. It provided information that people weren't aware of, and it spoke so directly to their audience that it was a perfect post with a perfect piece of content, and it blew up. Over 1,400 people liked that post on their page. There was only like 20-some likes, I think, but there were over 1,000 likes on other people who posted it, their personal pages. And it's not people in their office. These were just people in their audience who saw it and saw someone else share it, and they thought it was great. So that was a really great piece of organic social traffic.
It's also something to keep in mind. If you post an awesome piece of content on your Facebook page and your friends' friends are liking it, but they didn't necessarily like your page, they can see that X amount of people have liked this post. If it's a really popular post, it'll show up in the news feeds of people who are not directly connected to your page.
Yeah, so that's increasing the reach. So every personal profile that shares it, likes it, or comments on it, that's going to increase the reach of your business page's post. And then Jim Dotson does a great job with some of these free offers that they have. This waterproof cell phone case did really well. This is organic. This wasn't promoted either. So these are just some contests and promotions that do really well, and then you can see a piece of content that can just go out of control, popular, and increase the traffic on that day. Was pretty incredible that they saw to their website.
Okay, so here's some not so great posts.
So now we're on to the bad. Facebook has made a real effort to get rid of this like baiting thing that you see everywhere. The memes with the cute little animals everywhere that just say hit like if you agree, or one like equals, $1 donated to this company. That, first of all, it's a scam, so please don't share it, don't fall for it, and don't like bait. It's very spammy. It's annoying to people. They find it frustrating, and it's honestly pretty irrelevant to what you have to offer. If people want to like something, they will like it. There was also an incident where Snickers was paying celebrities to basically advertise their candy without actually telling anybody that, hey, Snickers paid me to do this, which is totally a violation of every advertising law, particularly in the UK where this was occurring.
Creepy.
Yeah, and it's just bizarre, and it seems so very unnatural, and I think people can tell. And we've got also an example from the Kansas City Chiefs here tweeting at somebody. It's just rude. I mean, it's being disrespectful to tell somebody to get a clue and to get their facts straight. Don't reply that way. If you wouldn't, you don't want people to see that. You don't want to see that you're rude and disrespectful to anybody who's talking to you. There's a polite way to say things.
Sometimes you might have to bite your tongue, but it's much better to do that than to react in a
you don't want to get in
aggressive
an
or
online
hated
war.
Yeah, hated way. So definitely avoid that.
Particularly true on any review sites. If somebody leaves a negative comment, I realize I'm getting a little bit off the social media topic, but if somebody leaves a negative comment on your Yelp page or your Google Plus page, please do not go off on them. Please do not be rude to them. Thank them for their feedback and tell them that you hope you can do a better job and move on. It's going to be much worse for your reputation to respond negatively than whatever their review said.
That's huge. I can't tell you how many times clients have thought that they have an SEO problem or a website conversion problem. I search for their name, and immediately the first 3 reviews that I see are super negative, and they are responding in a very unflattering way. So it's out there. Just like we had the question earlier, you want to avoid getting posts out there because it can be used against you in a court of law or whatever it might be. The way you comment to people and talk to people and interact with people on review sites is just you being social in a different type of way, so keep that in mind.
And this is just more like bait that we're talking about here with this OxyClean thing, right?
Oh, yeah. What
has nothing
does that
to do
have
with
to
it.
do with
Right.
OxyClean?
It's like if you filed your taxes, whatever.
Totally irrelevant.
Somebody thought that was pretty clever, but it's not. All right, now what is this we're talking about here?
Oh, this is the worst of the worst. These are people who just, I mean, when you're posting things to social media, when you're taking trending topics out of context, you can really, really impact your business in a bad way. Celeb Boutique hashtagged Aurora, talking about the Kim Kardashian dress that they're selling, when in fact it was about the Aurora shooting, which was a tragic and horrible thing that, you know, they've taken this tragic and horrible thing and tried to pitch their product with it, and it just went over so poorly for them. The backlash was absurd. And if you look down at this DiGiorno pizza tweet, seems pretty harmless if you don't understand the context, which they clearly did not. The hashtag for Why I Stayed was started because of the Ray Rice incident where he had knocked out his wife in an elevator, and hashtag Why I Stayed was trending because it was women sharing stories about incidences of domestic abuse and why they stayed. And DiGiorno also got tons of awful backlash for this. Another thing, we've got Amy's Baking Company just doing the really stupid overreaction, and I mean, if you're going to respond in this way to somebody who has negative feelings about your company, you probably should not be on social media. Yeah. It's also important. I included this NYPD News hashtag just because it's important to really have a grasp on your public and what their general feelings are about you. If there's a lot of negative feedback going on, don't try and turn that into a positive thing. Try and address the issue itself, because this did not work well for the hashtag MyNYPD, the trending topic that they were starting. It actually really came back in their face.
So there's smart ways of doing those things, and definitely trying to, especially when there's something negative going on, like there was that negative connotation with police officers at the time. Don't try to piggyback on something that has a negative and try to spin it. And I said be funny, don't be funny in that way. Yeah. That's not appropriate.
Very good, and I think that's it. I mean, that's a wrap on our social media webinar. I think we answered a lot of questions. If there's any other questions that you have, please send them in. Molly, as I said, is our guru here with social media. Her email is molly@fosterwebmarketing. And just some other notes. Thank you very much for staying through with us. Most of you did. Apologize for being late with our technical problems. If any of you have any questions about social media, you know, we're a very transparent, helpful company that would love to help you get your feet under you when it comes to social media. You can go to fosterwebmarketing.com and check us out. We'd also like to talk to the lawyers out there about the Great Legal Marketing Summit that's at the end of October. That's October 23rd and 24th, with our boot camp being on the 25th. You can sign up for the summit by going to glmsummit.com, and also our boot camp by going to fwmbootcamp.com and sign up for those things. And then, of course, if you're a doctor here, you want to come to the Top Practices Summit that will be out in Denver the first week in October. And that is, what is that, Top Practices? Well, you can go to toppractices.com and get more information about that. And then, once again, thanks everybody for coming out and attending the webinar. We will put together an email with the recording and a bunch of resources, and we'll get that out to you. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next month. Take care.